know our pastor, you know he's good for giving assignments. So initially when I joined this ministry, I would kind of resist, but I'm used to it now. I just go ahead and acquiesce and do what he has.
You always talk about go with his flow.
So I'd like to speak on, he says one thing, but these two kind of go together. And one of the first things that he taught us in the ministry was that there are three ways to hear from the Lord. We hear from the Lord through His Spirit, we hear from the Lord through His pastor, and we hear from the Lord through His Word. But he's also taught us that faith means I go first. So in order to go first, you have to be able to hear the voice of the Lord. Yes. Right now, he's teaching us on faith and obedience. Well, you figure obedience to what? Obedience to the voice of God. And there are two ways to know when God is speaking to you. One of the ways to know is that God is always right. He can never be wrong. And the second thing is, whenever we have a choice between good and bad, before we do bad, He always tells us we shouldn't do it. So these are two ways to discern the voice of God. But in John chapter 10, Jesus gave us the parable of the sheep. And He says, the sheep know my voice. Well, most of us think the most important aspect of communication is when we're talking to someone. But really, if we be still and we listen and hear the voice of God, we find that listening is the most important aspect of communication.
Amen.